Previously on
the recap sequence.
Welcome back to the recap sequence. Well, not welcome back. This is
our last episode of the
surely
year.
This is a whole other week later, but we look, we've got this is our holiday end of the year episode, and to start things off, we got a special present for you, Christmas gift, if you will. We ended our last episode on the Marvels on a bit of a cliffhanger, because we were talking about all of the things that Marvel has put out there on the table for options
with our OB,
Brent O'Hara. And so we've tracked him down again, and
this counts as another one of his episodes, right?
Sure it does.
Because Brent, just so you know, we are planning whenever episode 100 hits, where we're actually going to try and do this in person, face to face with you, because we figure 100 episodes deserves a face to face.
Travel opportunity.
That would be fun. Yeah.
Something for the corporate Amex, So we'll plan something big for that. This is great. A great way to end off the year. By the way, I'm not sure we didn't have the opportunity to end. We had a holiday episode last year,
yes,
where we talked about our favorite Christmas movies.
Yes,
maybe that will come up again a little bit later. But first, let's kind of pick up where we left off.
Hold on, before we get to that,
sure.
Brent was taking a sip of his coffee as you hit record.
Oh, right. Oh,
and
geez, yeah.
I was not aware of this, but Brent, you're a very big Kiss fan.
That's right. Yeah, this is going all the way back. With our whole family. The right. Cousins. Some
yes,
of these
culprits.
I think I've seen some face painting, I believe, on the Facebook memories.
That's yeah. So this is we've got a long history with that, and I love that it's that Kiss has some comics context, and you might have seen I posted to the East Coast Comic Expo thread, just sort of sharing just a reminder about how back in the 1970s, Kiss, Gene Simmons was a big comic reader, and their whole facade, that whole idea was partly inspired by his interest in comic books. And it allowed them to come up with these outlandish, superhero-ish kind of costumes and go up on stage, and it created a phenomenon. And Kiss concert became kind of the standard. They set the standard of what a rock concert would become. And I've had the great blessing of being able to see them a few times, and their show is like none other. And yeah, so I was noting just in a post there yesterday to the East Coast Comic Expo crew, because this has been doing the lads are in their 70s.
Oh yeah.
And so they know that this is that has to come to an end. So they're doing that under their own control, and they've done what they've been calling the end of the road tour for some time now. But the pandemic really derailed part of their tour. And we had, as our family, I was going to bring my kids to a Kiss concert. We were so looking forward to being able to do that, but the pandemic spoiled those plans, so we weren't able to go across the border. Because at the time we weren't sure we would be able to get back, because of the rules, and everything was quite complicated at the time. So here we are now with Kiss has come back, and they're doing the final shows. And what are they doing? They're broadcasting their very last concert from the end of the road. They're doing a pay-per-view so that people can watch it and participate in this sort of end of legacy kind of, or this end of their career in a way. These iconic rock and roll musicians that did indeed put their blood in the ink at Marvel Comics for the Kiss comics that came out in the 70s. And so it's just what an amazing career that they've had, and a journey for to share with everybody. And so it's going to be neat to watch. That's tonight. Pay-per-view.
Tonight. Oh my gosh!
Tonight from Madison Square Garden.
Oh my gosh! So this is it tonight. It for Kiss. Then they're
We should preface this, by the way. This is Saturday, December 2nd. We're recording this, so if people are listening to this and like, oh my god, the thing's tonight, I got to go on pay-per-view.
I didn't miss
Fair
it.
enough.
Brent's a liar. He told us it was on tonight.
Goes and runs up and puts the face paint on. Yeah, okay. It's a little caveat there. Don't listen to much of what we say. It's not true.
December 2nd. Then yes, you good to point out. I'm glad you mentioned that. December 2nd's the final show.
What an amazing what if Kiss were the Guardians of the Galaxy. Maybe they'll do that in season 3.
Now, Brent, we get back to this. We've talked about the Marvels in the last episode. We talked about the X-Men. I know a lot of people who I've talked to were saying, well, I kind of wanted to see Nicholas Hoult, the Beast that we got from the X-Men First Class group. I know that's not entirely possible now because he's been cast as the new Lex Luthor in the next James Gunn Superman movie. So we weren't going to really get that. I had no problems with Kelsey Grammer. I like it. I would have hoped to have, maybe sometime we'll see Beast whistling the Frasier tune as he's walking down the hallway or something, just, whatever. But we also got Kamala. We've got basically the starting blocks for the Young Avengers. I know a lot of people had said, oh, we've had the Young Avengers. We've already been introduced to some of them in WandaVision and whatnot. But really, would you say this is the starting point here as we build towards the Young Avengers core?
Yeah, I think this is the moment we've been waiting for. Because yes, through many stories, we've been getting characters like, Cassie Lang, and Eli Bradley's Patriot, maybe if they go that way. America Chavez, right? We've got
Kate
Wanda's twins, Riri. Maybe the young T'Challa. We had, like we mentioned in the last show, Phyla Vell was introduced. These are all characters that are very strongly hinting at the Young Avengers. Now, the Young Avengers also has a very strong Kang tie-in to characters, so that'll be interesting to see if that happens or not. But we've been waiting for quite a long time for them to actually give us an official word that they're putting together a Young Avengers team, and this is it. We finally get it in that lead up to the credits scene with Kamala meeting up with Kate Bishop.
And using the Nick Fury line from Iron Man.
Absolutely. Yes, absolutely. They're telling us with no they're not being shy about it. It's like, okay, the moment has finally arrived. They're finally getting this story and team together of younger characters to fill the place of the Avengers in some fashion. You look at the way that they've got the chess pieces set up. It would make sense if we get a team up in some fashion with them, maybe prior to Secret Wars or prior to the next, quote unquote big Avengers build. So we'll see how they do it, but it's one to look forward to.
The Young Avengers characters that we're familiar with within the comics and whatnot, do you think by introducing them and eventually getting something that it'll be the Young Avengers that will introduce a Miles Morales, or will we get a Miles Morales through Spider-Man 4? Because Miles has he's quite prevalent, I believe, is he not, with the Young Avengers?
Absolutely. There are there's the next Avengers, there's the Young Avengers, there's a couple of iterations that they are going to be able to blend together, but absolutely there are iterations of this young team that Miles is a central figure. And so it's very interesting, Sony right now, and Marvel. Sony continuing to do, they want to double down on their Spider-Man universe. They want to continue, and word is that they want a tighter connection with the MCU. The MCU is in a position of, well, they're heading towards Secret Wars with the multiverse story. It's easy for them to have connections, but will it be easy for them to have tighter connections? I don't know. So this is all very interesting, how the corporate entities of Sony and Disney and how well they can get along, over the next years. that's going to inform the stories that they choose to tell about Miles in a very big way. So it remains to be seen about how involved they can have Miles. Fingers crossed. They've been planting the seeds ever since the Prowler was saying, I've got a nephew in this area that I'm trying to keep an eye on. Oh, so we got that in an MCU movie. So the hope remains that they can find a good way to maintain that partnership and get Miles into the story in such a way that he can be involved in this. Fingers crossed.
I think it goes back to what we talked about Brent in the last episode, where we were saying MCU fatigue, and really, Bob Iger, and it's all about money. I mean, let's face it, Spider-Man No Way Home made a lot of money for both Sony and Disney, and that relationship. I think that relationship right there helped sort of strengthen that a bit to see, okay, the creative side of Marvel can really come up with something using a Sony product, and everybody benefits in the end.
Yeah, I think it's scaling the benefit like between the parties. I think that's always going to be the sticking point, I guess. Like, they think of like allies, right?
Yeah.
They're partners, but it's more of like an alliance of superpowers, right?
Yeah.
So there's the interests that they have, but they may abandon very quickly, as soon as it's not working out in their favor, or could get very angry towards one another either. Like, there's always, it's not so much it's
a delicate line.
It's a delicate line where I think it could very quickly kind of escalate into like a I don't know, like a strong arming negotiation situation, which has happened in the past. I mean, we weren't sure. There have been all kinds of moments along the road here, like since we had our Spider-Man in Civil War kind of happen. We really didn't know what that was going to mean, where we were going to. I remember sitting in Studio B up like several years ago, doing a special episode with Brent. Imagine that on Marvel stuff even, and it was this whole idea that there was this these purchases that Disney had just announced, and what it meant, and here we are now just realizing years later what happened with Fox. Now that when we finally have Beast show up in an MCU movie, it's like, okay, this is starting to take shape. Where the thing with Spider-Man and Tom Holland, it's always been kind of like, is there going to be
it took Holland to bring them both together?
Exactly. Yeah.
It's
so
right.
It's like the child in the divorce, kind of, keeping everybody holding hands for a little bit longer. It's
and here's the thing, though, is the Across the Spider-Verse animated series that Sony's done. I think that they've been fantastic. I can't wait for the third one, but it's also got the fans out there going, we want to see Miles in an MCU movie now. Great with what you're doing, but maybe let's bring them together to do this again.
Yeah, rife with potential complications, right? And as you pointed out, it took Tom Holland with a beer or two in him to call Bob Iger and say, hey, you with all the power, this is what the fans want.
Yeah.
Can you do something about this, please?
Yeah.
And he did. Are we going to be in that same type of a situation? Because look, we're heading into, there are Sony's, Morbius and Madame Web and Venom movies, and these are all done. These are movies that are done with a little bit of, their hands are tied behind their backs to a certain degree because they don't have Peter Parker in any of these stories, and these are Spider-Man characters, and so they're trying to make the most out of their investment, but it feels like they're trying to make the most out of a financial investment by we've got all these characters, let's make movies with these characters, not thinking about them like a Marvel Studios would, meaning these are characters in the Spider-Man universe, and so you're making all these Spider-Man universe movies without Spider-Man in them, and that creates a distance between the fan base,
right?
And it makes it challenging. So them working with Marvel has been great to a degree, getting Spider-Man, and it's been some of their most successful, financially rewarding movies to have Marvel Studios build their Spider-Man story. But
I think though with Sony, Brent, I think
yeah.
it works that if they do these introductory films like Morbius and Madam Web, it works to create the character, and then if they want to, working with Marvel, potentially bring them in. I mean, Venom, I think they've done a very good job with it, and we got teased a bit with it, with the No Way Home and him getting, flipped into that universe and then sent back. I think the problem Sony made was introducing those Spider-Man villains at the end of Morbius, where you had the Michael Keaton Vulture that we had gotten from Spider-Man Homecoming, right, appearing in there, and we're all like, oh my god, we're going to get it, and then nothing happens out of that. I think that's Sony's problem, is trying to take a little too much as opposed to just introducing the character and okay, let's run with it, see what Marvel can do.
Sony also seems to be missing an opportunity here, because they can they're working with a lot of villains, and like maybe they should be working on a Sinister Six, or like maybe they could be building a different kind of like a villain verse, and then make MCU come begging for it. Like there's some marketing strategies in there that maybe you just kind of got maybe down a path that you had to go, because you're going to lose the dates were going to expire on some of these properties too. Like that definitely motivates people. But there are different ways that I think that they could work together and use what they have, and really maybe like I know that Marvel would love some of these characters that Sony has, but they're not hurting without them.
No.
But on the other hand, Sony's hurting without what Marvel has. So they could have built up, I think, a different type of things. They're trying to turn these little villain properties into hero stories, or like, I don't know.
I think I see.
I don't work in these industries, probably for a reason, because I probably make bad financial decisions. But I think that there were definitely people kind of dug in on ownership issues versus trying to tell really good stories, and maybe make a business upper hand out of it too.
And business model thinking is always been a challenge with comic book movies, and it took comic book people to come in and
exactly,
and show them the way to do it properly. But it doesn't seem to be taking per se. You look, we got Kraven movie where Kraven is not a hunter, who a complicated villainous, potentially villainous character, and they try to turn him around into a completely different. He's an animal activist, and it's like, you completely changed that character now, and so you've separated yourself from the source material. It happens, but you have to be judicious, but selective in how you go about doing that, if you want to keep the fans on board.
Mm-hmm.
If you stray too far, then it's not the same character anymore. And then you're starting from scratch to try to establish a new character.
And if you don't listen, and this keeps happening too, then that's what you're expected. It's kind of the opposite of what's expected of MCU films. We expect MCU films to be like the Jose Canseco, like everything's a home run. There is the expectation on the Sony side, with the exception of their Spider-Verse and animated, is that it's probably going to bomb. We're just waiting for this one to suck too, and it's what's been happening in DC, and poor James Gunn trying to rev that engine. It's the business model thinking, and you're right, Brent. I think it's as soon as they decided to let the comic people have a say in how these stories unfold, then the limitless possibilities of the MCU kind of opened up, and it's almost too much for them to bear now, because they've got so many things that they have to handle and do, and expectations to manage, where Sony's just kind of got this. They could still really benefit from a breakthrough, I guess, other than what Tom Holland has done for them.
And you know what? Maybe this is the thing. We've talked about this with Brent throughout this year of 2023, and now that the strike is over and everyone's back to work, Marvel has shuffled their calendar around again. We have really 3 events coming up, 2 within the next month or so, if you will. We've got the What If right before Christmas, which is going to be exciting, and our first episode back in the new year will be with Brent to discuss What If. But then we've got Echo that's going to drop shortly after that, and I'm very much looking forward to that. But then there's a big break, and maybe this is what Marvel's looking at, Brent, going ahead is, all right, let's revitalize ourselves. We've got 1 movie. Let's market the hell out of it, because, and really, I don't think it needs that much marketing because of the name itself and the potential of what this movie's going to bring in Deadpool 3. We know it's going to be rated R. We've got Ryan Reynolds in there, and we've got Hugh Jackman right there. Everything else, there's rumors abound of who else is going to be reprising roles. And because Disney this is a Fox property that Disney now owns, the sky's the limit for this. And I think this is the movie that could potentially relaunch everything and bring back that fan fervor.
You're right, and I'm very curious about this because Deadpool's not without its complications. Granted how funny the first 2 movies are, and there's all kinds of really terrific fan stuff in them. These are very, very adult movies.
Yeah.
I'm not showing my kids the first Deadpool movie. I'm not, there's
Right.
no, there's stuff in there
Yeah.
that's very adult. And, so Marvel Studios, having taken on this property, like we talked about, a couple of episodes ago, we talked about how it looks like they want to honor where these properties are coming from with Blade and Deadpool. These are R-rated properties, but they also have to do it in a way that fans of the MCU are going to go and want to be able to consume this content. They're going to want to watch this because it's important to the overall story, and that's important to the overall audience. The overall audience is invested in all of this world, and they're going to want to see that. Are they going to be, there's going to be F-bombs, and there's going to be language and dismemberment and things like that. And maybe families will be able to allow their kids to absorb some of that. They hear that stuff at school. Not so much the dismemberment at school, but certainly they get lots of the language at school.
They do.
Do you think with Deadpool 3 it'll be more of an honoring the Fox projects and sort of prepping us for that X-Men? We've gotten the X-Men introduction with the Marvels here, but do you think because there are a lot of rumors that we're going to get a Ben Affleck reprising his his Daredevil role. We know Jennifer Garner's in there as Elektra. There's other rumors that Patrick Stewart's going to be in there as Professor X. Is this going to be an honoring of the Fox properties with let's introduce these guys now and get you ready for the X-Men coming in?
Well, Jennifer Garner just came out and said, "I don't know what you're talking about." This how much of what we heard is media taking advantage of the thirst for this content, the anticipation. It's pretty easy for them to capitalize on that for clicks, isn't it?
Yeah.
And tell us things that aren't true, but but some of it turns out to be true. So a lot of it's kind of that wait and see. To your question, I think that there is. I think Deadpool has all of the opportunity to invigorate, the excitement for future, for this multiverse story, with the characters that they get potentially to have in this, and have a lot of fun, like they did with Spider-Man. With having the collision of these different actors playing Spider-Man, and the mix of the stories. Boy, having Deadpool in this scenario is going to be amazing and could introduce all kinds of fun stuff. But I think it could be legitimate story teases to where they're going. Like, I think this can have a legitimate functional place in the multiverse story and how it moves forward. And my fingers are crossed that they do just that they tie it right in.
Is there a concern? I guess my only concern about that is if you've got a film that has a limited access. You go from the Marvels, where it's like the babysitter can take the kids, and like, but with Deadpool, if there's a sort of a critical thing that moves things along, would that kind of hold back people from being able to get the whole story in? I guess I do like that there is something that's reserved, I guess, to the imagination of the sick-minded adult. Like and there's got to be something out there for everybody, and that's what Deadpool kind of satisfies. There's a thirst, there's a bloodthirst. You want to see all that. It's wild. It's it's like he's just so nonchalant about everything that he does. So I do think that there is a place for that, and it's it is entertaining, and it is not but it is not for the kids. But it's the same thing with the comics. There are comics that I wouldn't necessarily hand off. I don't think I'd let my kids really read Deadpool. I wouldn't recommend it necessarily at certain ages, I suppose. But I guess they have to, if you're gonna own it all, you gotta own it all, and you gotta find a way to do it. So but I want to see them bring things in. I'd love to see Deadpool kill the Marvel universe, or Deadpool kills the MCU. Another way to reboot, I suppose. But
this film could be used in such a way to prepare us for Blade that's coming in, and going, okay, this is sort of what Deadpool, get ready. I mean, I look at this and go, I watched The Punisher on Netflix.
Also not for the kids.
Exactly. But there's rumors that the Punisher could be getting reintroduced in the MCU coming up. There's even rumors he might be in the Echo series. I don't know. Or even Daredevil coming down. So, there's a lot of stuff out there. I just think with Daredevil being the only MCU movie next year, there's going to be a lot of hype. The hype machine's going to be really rolling for Marvel for this one.
Deadpool, not Daredevil.
Sorry, Deadpool. Thank you.
I was like, wait a second.
Yeah, Deadpool.
Come on now. Daredevil movie.
Yeah. I think that Echo has a similar challenge, but they're going, like you say, it's like the comics. They tell bits of story that move things forward, and it moves forward the old things in the world move forward. And maybe you have to be a little bit selective. Maybe you can't watch this piece or that piece because it might be a little too mature for if you have younger kids. But the stories are meant to be told in such a way that you can still get the overall gist by consuming the pieces that you do consume. Yeah, right. They all move the story forward.
Marvel's did this. Marvel's brought back it was a recap sequence. The very beginning of the Marvels was really previously on these people's lives, and they brought everybody up to date. And events that are significant are referred to in movies that have that move their plot along too. So they do that. They reference it. They show a flashback from just the selective moment you need. So they do that. There's a way to serve that. But I do believe that there will be a definite curiosity of children to see some of this stuff that's going to be coming out in Deadpool as well, simply because it's going to be a lot of introductions. I'm with you, Brian. I think there's a huge opportunity to bring in all kinds of things to hint at where they're going with things, and also opportunities to just bring in things just for the heck of doing it. You want to see a crash and burn of somebody happen. A Deadpool movie is a perfect place to throw that in, just for comic relief.
Yeah, absolutely. Brent, question for you.
Okay, go ahead.
No, finish. Go ahead and finish your thing first.
I was just thinking how, it's going to be interesting to see a restricted movie for Disney.
Yeah. Yes.
means a limited audience.
Yeah.
Are they, and we're just coming out of a number of movies that didn't perform quite as highly as they were hoping for. They're leaning a lot on Deadpool. Deadpool's going to do well.
Yeah.
But if for any reason that they think Deadpool doesn't do as well as they think it could have, if it had all of the PG-13 added audience, Well, I might guess that they might be looking at that whole R restricted strategy moving forward and move things back to a PG-13 where
Mhm.
they get to hit that broader audience and keep everybody involved in their stories.
But
That's
it's like you
always
said
gonna
on the last episode, right? Wait 45 days streaming service.
and that too. Yes, that's
Yeah.
true. Yeah.
Pedro Pascal, Mr. Fantastic, is this legit or is this smoke and mirrors?
It's unconfirmed. He may have had, they may have been circling him. But certainly there's been Hollywood buzz around the notion that Matt Smith turned down the role,
Interesting.
and that is that true or is it not true? You don't know. You don't
Yeah.
know. And him becoming a next potential option. It's hard to say.
Yeah.
So I mean, I can't wait for them to finally get it nailed down. I think there's some tremendous potential, and some of the folks that we think are being circled for cast. There's some great options in there.
Sure.
I'm having a hard time a little bit with the Pedro Pascal, seeing him as Reed, but he's a very talented dude. He's a
Yeah,
very talented
absolutely.
guy,
Yeah.
and could he don the genius super dad with
That's
all the
the
family complications?
Yep.
And yeah, maybe.
You know, it's the same as listening to John Krasinski, right? When he did the interviews and said he actually auditioned for the role of Captain America, and he was putting on the outfit, and or Chris Hemsworth walked by, and he's like, "Yeah, I don't fit this role, right?" He's taking the outfit back off, but to me, John Krasinski's it was Mr. Fantastic, whereas Chris Evans, I didn't exactly see him as Captain America because I saw him
either.
as Johnny Storm and the other actor from The Losers.
I see no one else as Captain America now. Chris Evans, I don't think you could top that choice. Just like Robert Downey Jr. I think those are the two most perfect pieces of casting in the MCU. I don't know about Pedro Pascal, but I do know I like seeing John Krasinski, but. The problem, I think, when you run into fan campaigns for their selection, you'll get it, but it's fan service is what you get. They don't necessarily what they did with John Krasinski was not they get you got it. There you go. We did it. But that now we've got other ideas, but you can have that. But so they don't maybe make that the permanent choice. So it's not that they're not listening. It's that we can find a place to squeeze them in, but they're not what we're really seriously considering.
There's a funny rumor Tom Cruise may actually show up as Tony Stark in the Deadpool movie. That was fan service. People,
that's fine.
So
it's fine.
But a lot of, but by now, of course, these are things that have circulated for quite some time, quite many years, as a matter of fact. But I would say, most people nowadays aren't even going to be aware that Tom Cruise was ever even considered or connected with the Tony Stark. So where's the advantage of them? They're not going to be leaning on a whole lot of, look what they did, because it's something that never happened. Yep. And for most people, they never knew it was even a possibility.
Yeah, I think I think they're going to be looking to put younger actors in those suits and not waste the opportunity to create an alternate view, because I think if you're going to create the opportunity to use those characters again, you don't necessarily want to have somebody who's 60 years old hop into that role for the first time and have everybody love it so much that they're, like Samuel Jackson's probably like, please just let me retire at some point, but the money probably too good. I'm hoping that they'll use these opportunities to kind of create a little bit of a vision that kind of seeps into the subconscious of expectation, and then when you see those characters show up later, it's like, right, I remember that kind of vibe. But who knows? Deadpool's definitely going to do some interesting things, and Deadpool's probably going to delight and offend at the same time. So they'll toe the line, and I think you're right, Brent. I think they'll make that decision on was the best place to go for Disney, But I definitely think Deadpool will be fine either way.
It's funny, we talk about all these things that are coming. It doesn't sound like there's a lot that's coming up in 2024 in terms of MCU stuff, other than Echo and Deadpool. There is rumors that Agatha Harkness will be late 2024, but then when you look ahead at 2025, it's like, oh my god, there's the Captain America 4, the Fantastic Four, Thunderbolts, Blade potentially by the end of 2025. So there's a lot to keep in there. That doesn't mean 2024 is going to be light on Brent.
Because... Oh no, we got other stuff to talk about. We look. The thing about this is, we have here 40 minutes into last week's episode. There's spillover of our conversations that we should really address. Well, I'm always a project guy. Go back on these on some of these episodes. We should find some of the loose ends that we never tied up on some of these conversations, and use 2024 to kind of close some loops. We may need to refresh our memories a little bit on some of these conversations, but there's no way we've put a period on everything that we've talked about, especially over the last year.
There's not just that. We're also going to be there's a fun one that we've sort of mentioned it to Brent, but we're going to do this in 2024. Is you have a series of albums, vinyl albums, sir,
sure.
And we are going to do an episode on the MCU music with Brent and talk about how this. I mean, this is a huge part of any movie.
Oh, soundtracks
to
don't
this,
get me
right?
started on that. Yes. I absolutely think that music is an important driver, especially. So I mean, there's the cinematic scores. Always, critical feelings. But what Marvel leans on pretty heavily in the last, decade is a series of selections of popular music that is meant to take the place in some ways of those feelings, and they do it in a very, very awesome way. Breaking Bad does it in a very, very awesome way. Like there's ways to use music. I mean, that's soundtracking in general. I get it, but Marvel has kind of the best of both worlds. They have a handful of composers that they bring in, some really really talented ones, especially on the Disney Plus side of things. But where they can afford the licensing departments to use these huge pop, not pop, but these
musical
projects.
Like,
it's every movie about Vietnam's gonna have some CCR. It's gonna hit you. It's the same thing. Like they just know what to do. What do you think, Brent? Like,
I think it's really neat that they acknowledge that enough that they actually factor it into their storytelling. Look,
sure.
we've got the mixtapes in Guardians, and look at the Falcon and the Winter Soldier picking up those notes from Marvin Gaye, and the little black book that Steve Rogers had where he wrote down all the songs. These are the things that he had to listen to and to get caught up with the modern day. These are things that get followed up right in. Look, we've got Zemo and and Sam Wilson and chatting about the musical the impact that music has had on culture. They're having a conversation on the plane while they're off to their next adventure. So they factor it right into their stories, notwithstanding the AC/DC always playing whenever Tony Stark shows up in the armor, right? So
that's why. So I have most of the cinematic scores are the ones that I go is seeking out when I buy my Marvel albums, but my Iron Man 2 album is the AC/DC album. It's my go-to in the kitchen when I'm cooking, when I'm doing the dishes. It's the funny thing is, our local radio station, plays like AC/DC. It's nonstop. It's like every fourth song is an AC/DC song, and I'm just like, I can't listen to it that way. But when I put it on specific, and you got that cover with Iron Man and War Machine face to face with the AC/DC like lightning bolt between the two of them. He's just really just gonna get you right in the mode, and I'm in the mood for nothing but AC/DC. In those moments.
Pretty cool.
Yeah. And of course, we'd be remiss. 2024 East Coast Comic Expo, June 2024. Brent, when are we going to start hearing things? We put you on the spot every time. So
Hey, look, no, I really appreciate chatting with you guys about the East Coast Comic Expo and to the build up, and we're at work already. You know, our crew is working on guests, working on we've we've had fun things going on with the social media. I mean, but we're entering that period of time where we okay, we're going to start becoming a little more present on social media again as we build towards the show. And so yeah, so we're underway, and we'll be looking at sharing. We'll continue to share comic news and things that are relevant and things that we think that local fans would be interested in seeing. Like, just as a reminder, hey, did you know that the kids, they're talking about things that are related to the comic world and all the cool things that are going on. And I've got a couple of things that I'm just waiting for some local creators who are doing really fun, cool things related to the Comic Expo and the comic scene that are being done right here in our area. And I think that's really fun. And so I can't wait to be at a point where we can share some of those things, just to share with that sense of community, that there's really neat things going on right here in our area related to the comics scene and everything connected to it.
And of course, that's June 7th and 8th back at the Moncton Coliseum, right?
That is right. Yep. Back in that same spot. We'll be there this year. I'm looking forward to having a great crowd again.
I'm curious. Last year, this year when we talked to you, you were dressed up as Agent of Shield. The question is are we gonna get some prosthetic makeup, maybe half Agent, half Skrull, that kind of
thing? Maybe so. We'll see what happens.
I'm definitely looking forward to June. It's gonna despite the light movie schedule, it's gonna be a heavy travel schedule for well, actually maybe not so much travel, but it'd be a heavy presence schedule.
Yes.
at a number of events. But ECCE is always the one that I look forward to the most. It's close to home, but you can still travel. I love having events in Fredericton. Don't get me wrong, and we've had a couple recently. But there's no road trip. It's across the Westmoreland Street Bridge, and that's it. And then I'm there, and then I'm going home, and it's too soon. So I love at least that we get a bit of a buffer of some travel, and I really enjoy being in Moncton. So that's good.
Well, and I also like the fact that sort of ECCE kickstarts our con schedule for the show here, because we do this one and then we're in Fredericton for Eddie Beach Fan Fest, and of course we're in Halifax for HalCon, which is later in the year as well. So
yeah, I missed HalCon. I don't know if everybody noticed my dismay and joy in introducing your interviews from your HalCon show, but yeah, looking forward to getting back to HalCon. One thing, go ahead, Ryan.
Sorry, I was going to ask Brent, do you know, we talked about this a couple, or I think back in October when we had you on, Nick's ROM book, is that coming out in December? ROM versus
yes,
the
it
X-Men?
was scheduled for December. Yeah, it was the reprint of ROM, those stories where ROM comes in contact with some of the other heroes in the Marvel universe. Those were getting reprinted into a collection, and local favorite Nick Bradshaw had got to do the cover for it. So we are anticipating that.
So if you're listening to our show at some point in the month of December, go to your local comic shop, get yourself a copy of that, because I know I've already got it ordered. It's in my pull list here at Strange Adventures, but this would be pretty cool for Nick.
Yeah. Go ahead, Brent.
No, I was just going to say that we have lots of fun. That's the exact sort of book that you could pick that up and you could bring that to the East Coast Comic Expo, and you can get Nick to sign it, and you could chat with him about his love for ROM, and hey, it's again, get into the community part of what's going on in the comic scene right here. I mean, look, we've got I've been reading we've got Avengers, and we've got local creators in our region creating these books, and the creators are going to come, and so you get to chat with them, bring those books that you've enjoyed, and you get to tell the creators, look, I really enjoyed this.
Yeah.
and
Well,
they have them feel good about it, because drawing is a lot of work.
it is. It is. What's
It's
what's 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 great about this full circle story here is when we were at ECCE in June
Yeah.
this year, that's exactly what we talked to Nick about,
Yeah.
was his desire to be working on ROM. And maybe he already knew, and he's just toying with us. Who knows?
No, he didn't, because well, maybe he did. I don't know, but he also said, Brent, he wanted to Micronauts was the other project.
Oh, that
he
was
wanted
it.
to do.
Right, right. But all the while he's drawing. These guys they're drawing constantly. You when you're going to these events, so our kind of tour of the artists at AECCE, they're not just sitting there waiting for people to come and talk. They're constantly making art. So you're looking at what the process in action and under pressure. They've got time constraints, and they've got people at them. They're not, in ergonomic issues, I'm sure, and away they go, producing these amazing sketches. And that in itself, for a comic fan, to go and see, like Jed MacKay, and then like see flipping through what he's done and watching him do it, like it's an amazing.
It's so funny that you would say that, because we talked to Jed. Yeah. And when I get my comics, I get the Marvel preview, right, and the DC preview, what's coming out. And if you go through them, and all of a sudden you start looking at all of them, it's like Jed MacKay writes this, this. Like, how does this guy even, maintain this? And Brent's nodding at us, and Adam Gorman, who you guys had this past June as well, he's back on the Vader book, the Star Wars Vader book.
Yes.
And I had commented to him how much I enjoyed his art on this, and he was hoping to get back in there, and he does, starting in the new year.
See, this is great. This is exciting stuff. And I agree. Like, Jed's super busy. Some of these guys, are nonstop, and they are so invested. And when they get, Jed MacKay's got, he's getting a lot of good attention. Like the choices that they're making in their storytelling are getting them more books, because they're doing it right.
Yeah.
And
Jed's getting the books that Marvel's pushing the stories on right now, like the MCU is too. Like, so like what a great opportunity. Like, if you're to just kind of it's amazing where the talent comes from that you don't know. These are coming from folks from our area. So you get a great sense of pride when you walk into these events, when you walk into ECCE, and you look at the impact that these writers and artists have had on your experience, and you may not have even known it, because I'm not one that really, until I get into doing this sort of thing, I had much of a sense of who did what. I loved reading comics, and it was about the stories, and I was fairly ignorant to who was creating all of that stuff until you started getting into specific stories, and it was like, okay, well, it's got to be this writer and this artist. Now you start to develop these connections and stuff, which I did much later on. But to get to see and talk to these folks, and these folks have directly in some ways affected the stories that you are seeing in the films, the designs, and even the story arcs, have been influenced by the East Coast, I'll just say.
And what's exciting as well with what ECCE has done for us. I mean, you and I read The Walking Dead, and to find out we got a chance to chat with Tony Moore when he came there was incredible. But another one that I didn't really follow until I met him at East Coast Comic Expo is Chip Zdarsky.
Yes.
And to see him go on his run with Daredevil, which was unbelievable, and what he's doing with Batman right now.
Oh, yeah.
Unbelievable.
He's got a big project coming now, too. That seems like it could have some neat impacts for the bigger Marvel story. So, and we love to share stuff like that. Like, even, when that's getting closer, I'll certainly be sharing that with
can't wait
with our community, right? So there's a lot of cool stuff going on with people that we know, right? That have visited or are part of our community in this way, where they get to participate here at the East Coast Comic Expo and similar style events. So it's fun. you know, part of me as a comic fan likes that separation of I'm immersed in my story and I'm not necessarily thinking about the creators while I'm reading it. I want to be able to be in that world.
Yeah.
But there are creators that do that so well that you're like, wow, this immersed me so much, and I keep coming back, and I have such strong feelings towards the story. Who did this? And then you go back and you look at that, and you're looking forward to that artist or that writer continuing, because you're, you know, in the next books, or you feel the change when they're no longer, or they take an issue off or something like that. And then you're like, oh, you know,
Yeah.
you know, felt different. You know, do I need to be worried?
And I blame Brent
that's
because when
Sure,
we do
you
the
can't
arc
blame him, yeah.
recaps or the arc recaps, and then he recommends stuff to read,
He's
and then I
informed
feel
by
I'm like,
purchases. Yeah.
okay, here we go. I'm going to give more money to Brent now and read these, and I'm introduced to all these new writers and new artists that I didn't before. And then there's artists that I read that I'm like, oh, fingers crossed, East Coast Comic Expo or any of the other events, get these guys, because there's some incredible talent out there, and that's what I like about East Coast Comic Expo and the other events, Freddie Beach, Halcon. They you guys really put an emphasis on independent creators as well, and we've had such a great time coming to these and talking to Hal Hilden.
Hal Hilden was the first one to jump to mind.
Andrew Clark and Peter Bro and all of these guys, and you know, and to see that there's this plethora of talent. There's my word for the day: the plethora of talent that's out there in the Maritimes alone.
And I will say, earnest, hard-working plethora of talent, and very willing to show their appreciation for your support by giving you their attention. You know, like they're busy people and they're making a living. And for me, I'm always starstruck. I don't care the level. It's, you know, these folks are out there. They're getting published. They're telling stories, and you know, it's such a great thing to be able to walk into the Coliseum and know, okay, I have a really cool conversation here very shortly. And so I'm definitely looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to all of next year. Look, I'd be remiss by if I didn't mention in the last 2 minutes here, it's a holiday episode. So you'll hear the sleigh bells in post.
Here we go. My question to Brent: one answer, yes or no. Is Die Hard a Christmas movie, Brent?
It is, you know, in as much as the Hawkeye Disney Plus show is a Christmas show. You know, I don't know if you put it on the same category as the Guardians holiday special, which is a, you know, that's
pretty specific at Christmas.
Yeah,
I don't know. I'm still in the it's a Christmas movie camp. I know that you're not, and I won't bother to bring Die Hard 2 into it either. But a quick question, Brent. I mean, there's lots of Christmas movies out there. Do you got a favorite? You got to go to have you started your Christmas movie watching season?
We do certain ones, and for sure, you know, every year. Look, the Muppets Christmas Tale. You know, the Christmas Carol. Wow, that's a pretty good one. You know, the John Denver Christmas album.
I have it right over here.
With the Muppets is one of the greatest records, you know, out there. You know, just it's so funny and so you know, warm and emotional. It's just beautiful. You know, and so those are a couple of favorites. We do the Grinch every year, and I'm happy to say the original cartoon.
Thank you.
The original cartoon. Every year, that one gets played a lot, but I'm happy to say that I think that the Guardians special has been introduced as a regular into the fold of holiday specials. So, you know, we're entering in that period that's such a, you know, it has so much goodness and so much warmth and so much you know, in my community, people started putting up, you know, we live in complicated times, and there's a lot of complicated emotions out there, and social media is rough on you. And so look, we're part way into November, and people have their Christmas trees up all along, all through our neighborhood. People want that. People want to have the good feeling of, let's focus on the good. Let's focus, and that's what Christmas brings to us and our family. And I'm really excited to have us in December, where we get to celebrate that joy and raise that. All ships. What they say is that you raise all ships by having that those good vibes going on, and may everyone have such a great holiday season.
And the same to you, Brent, and your family. I mean, we are extremely appreciative of everything that you help bring to this show, and that. And so we can't thank you enough for being a part of it. I mean, we can't thank everybody who has a hand in this show.
Yeah, absolutely.
My pleasure. I mean, I couldn't be happier to be a part of what you guys do. I think you guys do a great job and sharing positive. We gripe a little bit, but overall, like we're sharing stuff that's really fun and exciting. We're talking about it. We get to be passionate about all of these really great things, and it's fun to get to chat with you guys about such positive things on a regular basis. So I thank you guys, and I hope you guys have a great holiday season.
100% thanks. And I'll tell you, Brent, you bring out the best of us. So you really do. And part of what's so great about having your influence on this show is we've maintained that. Look, there's things we don't like about all kinds of things that we watch and all things that go on around the world. But what we try and focus on is how much we've enjoyed the things that we've watched and how much we try to enjoy the things that are going on around the world. And so having the tones of conversations that we've been able to have with you over the years has definitely set the bar and baseline for how we handle our show. So again, have a Merry Christmas, and looking forward to talking to you, putting you back to work for us early in 2024.
We are going to have Brent back. Before you watch What If Season 2, you need to watch the Baby Groot at the last episode with the Watcher before you watch What If. Sets the tone for you right there.
Good note.
So that's it, Ryan. Hey, Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. Happy New Year to you.
Well, I'm sure we'll talk shortly.
Thanks to everybody out there for helping support the show.
Cheers.